2020 alterou radicalmente o cenário econômico. A medição de impactos e os planos de crise e contingência fizeram parte das dinâmicas de todas as empresas e negócios no mundo todo, em todos os setores. Repensar e replanejar são atividades obrigatórias nesse novo contexto. O futuro ainda causa incertezas, mas empresas inteligentes já conseguiram atuar de maneira diferente. Considerando o que deve ser definido como prioridade para manter a produtividade e a segurança e preparando-se para gerenciar riscos. A previsão, de acordo com o estudo coordenado pela Fundação Getúlio Vargas, a FGV, é de que o home office cresça cerca de 30% no Brasil. E ainda que retomemos algumas atividades, o distanciamento social será necessário para evitar uma nova onda de contágios. A demanda por espaço pode ser maior, impedindo que todos os colaboradores voltem juntos às empresas. Planejar o futuro dos setores, com atuações integradas entre eles, pode beneficiar a retomada econômica no pós-crise. As empresas devem se preparar para esse novo momento, entendendo que as mudanças serão estruturais. Para isso, a tecnologia e a inovação também oferecem soluções. Para repensar a recuperação e a revolução do mercado econômico, com vocês, Paulo Mendes, CFO da SAP Brasil.
Obrigado, Patrícia, pela introdução. Eu queria dar as boas-vindas a todos que nos acompanham em mais essa sessão do SAP Now Brasil 2020. Eu tenho o prazer de estar aqui, de ser o mediador desse debate com duas pessoas que eu conheço há bastante tempo e que eu admiro há bastante tempo, e certamente esse vai ser um bom investimento de tempo para você de acompanhar essa sessão conosco também. Antes da gente começar, eu queria lembrar que nós que trabalhamos em finanças no Brasil, certamente estamos forçadamente acostumados a viver em um ambiente turbulento, como esse atual que estamos vivendo. E o desafio atual de todos nós é balancear essa situação de uma crise que começou de uma maneira bastante específica, num local bastante específico, mas logo se expandiu e veio para o mundo econômico, veio para as corporações e veio para a vida de todos nós, com a situação e a necessidade de cada vez mais reinventarmos a nossa função enquanto profissionais de finanças, com o uso de tecnologia, com a adoção de metodologias novas, e fazer a junção dessas duas coisas é um pouco o tema do nosso debate hoje aqui. Junto com esse cenário, a gente também tem temas debatidos constantemente na agenda, na pauta de todos nós, como, por exemplo, a questão da sustentabilidade, a questão do triple bottom line, a questão da economia circular e a questão do conceito do ESG, ou seja, hoje não só a gente precisa olhar o lucro econômico e financeiro, mas também cuidar do impacto no meio ambiente e também cuidar do impacto social que as organizações podem trazer. Então, é com base nesse pensamento sistêmico que aqui, antes da gente começar, de eu introduzir os nossos convidados, eu gostaria de deixar um agradecimento muito especial aos nossos parceiros e associados da Zug Brasil, que são parte desse ecossistema da SAP e certamente contribuem para que a gente consiga atuar com essa visão sistêmica, pensando nos nossos fornecedores, pensando nos nossos funcionários e pensando principalmente nos nossos clientes no Brasil. All right, so now is the time to switch to English. And let me give a warm welcome to José Filippo, CFO of Natura, the group Natura, and also to Luka Mucic, Executive Board Member of SAP and Group CFO of SAP. Welcome, and thank you very much, Luka and Filippo, for being with us today. Everybody is talking about crisis, about how to revamp and how to make the business continuity and take care of our companies, our employees, our vendors, and our clients in the end. So let me ask you first, Filippo, to speak a little bit on the key decisions and the actions that Natura, the group Natura, is taking to navigate and to protect the business continuity.
Okay, Paulo, thanks, and thanks for the invitation. Congratulations for the event. As you said, everybody was kept by a situation that we didn't expect. So we had to take a lot of short-term decisions and then planning right after. When crisis came, I think that the headline for us was be like protect our business, protect our people. So we started to do several actions on that direction. I would say that in the first moment, until we knew better what's going to happen, we of course focus on the protecting the business through the reducing of expenses, postponing some if we can, increase liquidity and cash through also prioritizing investments, also withdrawing credit lines that we had available. Fortunately, we never used them, but this was something that we had to do in terms of managing our liquidity in the short term. We look after our suppliers, identify which of them would need our support. Our consultants and representatives are important for us. Also, we extended terms for them in the beginning. We no longer need this anymore, but this is something that we did. Our employees, we support their families, themselves. So we also create conditions for them to work remotely, which has been something that we're doing a lot, and it came to stay. And basically that was the beginning as we faced that. But then after that, as we started to clear better the situation, to understand the resilience of the business, to understand the dynamic, we realized there was a lot of legacies from that period. So we really brought into more financial discipline in terms of managing liquidity, and also working remotely. We're learning how to do this. So today we're still not back to the offices, although we work globally, and each location will decide how to do. But in general terms, we're not going to do, and I'm quite sure. Today we have the situation that probably this year we're not going to go back. But then we provide capacity for us to work remotely, which is doing very well. I think that we can do this very well, and that's basically how we face and how we stand today for that.
So Luca, the same question for you, business continuity. What are the actions that SAP is taking to navigate during this complex time? And before you go to it, let me ask you to explain to our audience why exactly Brazil has a special place in your heart.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Paulo, and to all of you, I hope you managed to stay safe and healthy. I'm really glad to join this session. And my emotional attachment to Brazil has a couple of reasons. From a formal perspective, I'm serving as the board sponsor for our business in the country. But more importantly, I had the privilege when I was a young student to travel the country quite extensively with my backpack. So Paulo always tells me that I know the country better than he does. And secondly, I have relatives in the southern part of Brazil, in Santa Catarina mainly, few of them in Paraná, and I always try to visit them as well. It's always a great experience. So in terms of SAP and our approach to business continuity, I think when the crisis unfolded, it was very similar to what Jose Filippo explained. Of course, our first priority was to take care of our people and make sure that we keep them safe. So we created a global pandemic task force right away, which advised the various businesses around the globe that we had on how to best deal with the crisis, make sure that we had a consistent approach to office lockdowns, for example, and many other aspects. We supplied masks to each and every one of our employees at a global basis to help them out, as there was a shortage in supply, obviously, in particular in the early stages. And of course, we wanted to make sure that all of them were equipped to work virtually. In this respect, it was positive that SAP had always been a front runner in promoting virtual ways of working. In Germany, for example, even before the crisis, we had employees on average more than 2.5 days a week working outside of the office. And therefore, we had a good infrastructure to support this. And that was very helpful. Nevertheless, my core concern was really, are we able to run our end-to-end end-to-end business processes still seamlessly in a completely virtual environment. And I have to say, I'm proud of our teams, how they rallied together to ensure that this is happening. If I think about the different end-to-end processes, for example, in opportunity to close, we very quickly shifted to an almost entirely virtual way of demoing our solutions. Our sales force has proven that they're really very agile in using the new tools, collaboration tools, in order to do that. And I've done quite a few demos of how we run our own solutions to customers as well. But it was also great to see how customers all of a sudden embraced digital contracting solutions. For example, we use DocuSign for e-contracting, and in some countries in Asia in particular, they were very reluctant to use these means, but now that has changed completely, and so we can even close contracts sometimes more quickly than in the past based on the traditional paper way of contracting. Procure to pay, like José Filippo said as well, of course we wanted to make sure that we can meet our obligations towards our suppliers and partners, so we utilized heavily our central treasury operations and the central payment factory that we had set up with a bank communication tool that allows us from the central treasury team actually to execute more than 95% of our payments worldwide. This was critical for business continuity as well. And from a closing and accounting perspective, actually, we had already invested in automation quite a bit, but we see now a great opportunity to even further double down. So the teams are busy deploying a lot of intelligent robotic process automation tools to help us further digitize our processes. Last but not least, when it comes to our customers, what we really wanted to make sure is that the ongoing implementation projects can continue to proceed. And in the second quarter, for example, we were almost 100% in remote operations, but still we managed in the first 6 months to achieve 17,000 go lives across the globe of different solutions of SAP for our customers. That makes me very proud as well. And I think this was only possible because we had invested previously in best practice content. And so we could advise our customers to really go with an agile, lean implementation, very standards oriented, and that has paid off. So all in all, I'm quite satisfied, even though the crisis has left its toll on SAP as well. But we are on a solid footing, and that's very positive and makes me confident for the second half.
Thank you. Interesting to hear two perspectives of two global companies, but two very different companies, right? Operating in different markets. Thank you very much. So before we stop talking about crises and challenges, etc., and start speaking about the future and opportunities that we see, let me ask you, Filippo, besides cash and besides liquidity, which is a must, everybody's paying attention to it. You already said this. But what else changed in your life, in your day-to-day during this time?
Well, Paulo, I believe that there's some way of seeing some of the things. I think most of us already knew the capacity of working remotely, but we never had the obligation, if you may say, to really do this so intense that we're doing now. So I think there was something that everybody realized that we can do something of those things differently. I believe the work is changing a little bit. Some people say that would be more effective because we schedule meetings and we start at time and we finish as we schedule. Something interesting that we're more disciplined for that, if you may say. But I believe that this is one of the key takeaways. But also that important for me, I think that the business or whatever we do, we always find some resilience where we do. So there was always a way to face difficult times, to face challenges, and to find ways of addressing them. So I believe that those are the things that I can say about learning and feeling that we see differently than we had before.
So Luca, I'm sure that you are talking to a lot of customers, CFO, about how they are dealing with these difficult times and how technology can help them to navigate during this period, and how technology can help them reinvent their business from now on. So can you put us some examples or some more color on what exactly is the role of technology in this situation?
Yeah, so I think there are clearly some common themes here. First of all, CFOs and general managers, I think, across all industries are clearly recognizing that digitalization is now becoming an absolute must, because we have to get fast insights and translate them into flexible actions in this extremely volatile environment that we are facing today. To say this out of the SAP's own example, we never had to care so much about a real-time view on cash flow, quite honestly, because our business in general is very cash generative and very predictable. But now, in a period of time in which, of course, concerns around customer liquidity issues, collection challenges mount, it was very, very positive for us that we had invested into a real-time treasury dashboard that gives us a real-time view on the liquidity, not only at the group level, but actually at every legal entity level, so that we can swiftly shift and course correct if in a particular subsidiary or entity we otherwise would face short-term liquidity challenges. And I think these types of solutions to have a real-time view on the liquidity and cash position are ones that certainly I see lots of other CFOs wanting to have as well. And this is only possible if you have an end-to-end application architecture in place that is then delivering analytics insights to really get this in a seamless fashion. Then secondly, I think it's very clear that in a digital and more virtual world where physical front office operations are disrupted, it is absolutely important to have digital sales channels in place. So what we clearly see is there is a lot of demand for commerce solutions that allow customers to stand up alternative digital channels, even the ones that have so far not invested in this. So we saw significant high double-digit growth in this business area for SAP, and I think it's quite representative also from other players in the market that they are seeing a lot of demand in this respect. And then very important, not only because of the COVID crisis, but also because of some of the political challenges that we are facing that are really putting a strain on the globalization benefits that we have come to appreciate a lot, of course, across all industries. I think the volatility of managing supply chains is a key point. There is nothing worse than if you have breaks in your supply chains. Jose was talking about this as well, how to get supplier visibility into the health of the supplier base is extremely important. Being able to flexibly rearrange supply chains through digital supply chain management and supply planning solutions is another area where we see a lot of demand. And in all of those roles, also the CFO and the finance organization are connected to it. Even if there is an operational responsibility involved as well, they need to provide the intelligence, they need to provide the planning options, they need to provide scenario analysis. And so therefore, digital solutions that can allow them to connect transactional data that they see with predictive capabilities, I think are another area that everybody should invest into.
Thank you, Luca. And Filippo, Natura is more and more a global company, right? A multi-channel and a multi-brand company. So the same question to you, what is the role of technology to control and to navigate worldwide in a market that is very dynamic? And I saw, for instance, in your latest results that the e-commerce channel has grown 3 digits, right, during this difficult time during the last quarter. So what exactly is the importance of technology for you leading a global company?
Yes, Paulo, and I echo Luca's comments on this. I think it's a key for us, technology. I would say that first, in terms of the controls, we have to make sure that we have the accuracy of the information. Timely and accuracy of the information is very important these days to take the right decision. Capacity to plan is also something technology would help us a lot. And I would add about the cloud-based systems today, which in the times that we hear a lot about exposure, security issues, which comes all around these days. It's very important to have those capacity, that capacity to have that technology available, including the capacity to work remotely, to access information from wherever you are. And so the systems remotely is very important. I can, using what you support us on this, I can approve a payment at Ariba from anywhere. So it's not a problem for us to be in the specific situation to do this. And regarding the business, as you said, we really saw exponential increase in the digital channels. When you see the e-commerce business, we really were able to replace a big part of the revenues coming from the stores, the physical stores that were closed during that period. The e-commerce played a very important role in replacing those. And interesting is that after the stores started to open again, we don't see the return to original levels. So we still see a lot of activity. So this is something that we believe there's going to be remaining, and we have to be prepared for that, making sure that our systems, our logistics are ready to provide the support needed. And also, as you know, one important channel for us is the social selling channel. And although we had a lot of digital tools available, not most of the representatives and consultants use those tools. So what we saw was an increase in the level of usage of the available tools for them. For example, to connect the instant messaging with the sale, to the e-brochure. That was something that was also very interesting, that the consultants can customize an offer to a potential customer. So it was something that was very useful and became and will never go out again. So I believe that this is part of all this technology that can provide us more efficiency, more efficiency, and increase the business, support the business.
Excellent, thank you, Filippo. Let me take this point from now on to discuss a little bit our future perspective, right? So let me ask you this, Filippo. What are the opportunities that Natura and you, as the CFO for the group, are seeing during this difficult time? Certainly, Natura will revamp from this business, but tell us what are exactly the opportunities that you are seeing in this situation?
Yes, Paulo. I think that as you said, we have a global business today, different business units. I think the opportunities that we have is to really strengthen our channels, our selling channels. We see a good combination from the physical channels with the digital channels now, more balanced. I think that a lot of things that I mentioned before that we had to do in the event of the crisis that became legacies for the future about like we eliminate several bottlenecks in the distribution piece of the business. Also, in terms of how we deal remotely, in terms of connecting areas, is something that we improved, and is something that's going to be good for us because we take fast decisions. We can quickly connect and discuss, exchange information also. So I think that the life more digital is something that we believe is going to come and is going to change. So the opportunity is really to revisit this balance of the channels and really operate as the leverage the omni-channel that we mentioned, that you mentioned, that this is part of our footprint that will allow us to really become more and more resilient to changes and take the opportunities to really grow the business and expand the business.
Thank you, Filippo. And let me share with our audience that SAP is very proud of being a great technology partner for Natura, included the supply chain, included the digital efforts in the back office. So we are very happy to partner with you. Luca, the same question for you, opportunities. What do you see ahead of us and the great opportunities that will definitely emerge from this situation?
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is from Winston Churchill. He said, "You should never let a good crisis go to waste." And I think if history is a lesson for all of us, the past crisis, global crisis that we have been facing have actually always amplified the leadership of the strongest players in a given industry. And so it is extremely important from my perspective that in the wake of the crisis, you don't only cut costs at any expense, but you also define what really constitutes competitive differentiation at the tail end once the situation will improve, and then invest into it and be also bold to a certain extent. At SAP, for example, we have immediately when the crisis unfolded actually decided that we will continue to carefully invest in expanding our capacity, not everywhere, certainly not in back office functions, and quite frankly, in the short term, also not necessarily in sales and marketing because of the reduced demand, but definitely in R&D and in innovation. So we will end up the year per our projections with around about 2,000 employees more at the global level than we started the year. Most of them will be in R&D, and we see some very important future strategic growth areas that we want to build out with this, in particular industry-specific cloud solutions, because as Jose has said as well, we see a clear trend that the cloud is becoming the preferred deployment model. It is already clearly pervasive in generic line of business applications, but not so much yet in industry-heavy specific business processes. And that's where we see a clear competency of SAP, and therefore are doubling down and investing. This is crucial and key, and we believe we will therefore emerge because we have the capability to continue to invest as an even stronger player in our industry as we exit.
Thank you, Luca. And a final opportunity that I see in the situation is the way we interact with our people, right? The way we take care of our people, the way we lead, the way we engage. This is definitely something that's going to change. And we, as leaders, we have an important part in this transformation as well. We are going to the end of our conversation here, and I wanted to touch on a topic that definitely is on the top priority. And in fact, for Natura, Filippo, starting with you, we can say that this is an essence. This is, part of the backbone of the company, which is sustainability, right? So can you put us some more information on how important this is and how these difficult times can change the priority and the focus on sustainability?
Yeah, Paulo, David said that really this is one of our passions. Sustainability has been the purpose of all of our companies in the Natura & Co group, and we'll be very focused on that. I think that didn't change the situation we're facing, but increased the awareness and the visibility of most of the sectors worldwide. I would mention to you something interesting that we just announced, our Sustainability Vision 2030 within the crisis, and our commitment to life. And the three pillars that we have for that is to address the climate crisis and to protect the Amazon, to defend human rights and be humankind, and embrace circularity and regeneration. So we believe it's very important to have those commitments, although this is part of our life, this is everything that we do, but to really establish targets for 2030 on those metrics and those targets. So it's very important for us, and it's going to keep being the purpose of our company, the way we do business, and what will be supporting us and making our business going forward. That's how we see this.
So, Luca, what about SAP? Sustainability, ESG, circular economy, climate change. So can you comment a little bit on what SAP has been doing in this sense?
Yeah, thanks for the question. This is also something that is close to my heart because I'm the board sponsor for sustainability at SAP. And we have been a long-term believer in an integrated management approach by which the social as well as the environmental performance of the company and the way how we can create jointly with our customers and partners an impact there will actually reflect back on our long-term economic prosperity and performance. So we don't apply sustainable business practices to shine in the media, but we truly believe that this is setting us up for competitive differentiation. And this is in particular important during a crisis where perhaps some people might think, okay, sustainability should not be the top priority for a company while you're struggling to survive. But I see it to the contrary. From a social performance perspective, for example, I think the way how we interact with our customers and business partners, the way how we treat them fairly, how we try to support them, how we deliver solutions that allow them to drive their business continuity, and also where appropriate and reasonable, also some commercial latitude to help them continue to invest in SAP solutions while facing their challenges, will in the long term reflect back and will pay back. I'm absolutely confident about this. And that also then extends to communities and society. We are very proud that we have just released our Corona Warn app, for example, for Germany. It has more than 18 million downloads actually now, and it has clearly reflected very well on the public perception of SAP as well. And we are getting now many more concrete demands from the public sector to work with us also in other spaces. So it's worthwhile investing in those good causes. And from an environmental perspective, yes, SAP, of course, does not have a very large own environmental footprint as a software company, but we can do tremendous impacts through the customers that we are working with. We should all understand that the cost of an environmental footprint is already today for many industries extremely heavy. I'm serving on the board of a cement company, and there it's really life-threatening. They have to do something about it in order to keep their license to operate, and the same applies for many other industries. So if we can provide solutions that help our customers manage through a circular economy approach, understanding where their footprint is coming from and then taking active actions, we can actually amplify the impact of SAP alone through our entire ecosystem. And that again will reflect back on our long-term economic success as these capabilities are becoming more and more table stakes. And last but not least, measurement is extremely important for me. So we have been a front runner in integrated reporting. Now we are joining the so-called Value Balancing Alliance here in Europe mainly, but also with international participants from other regions, Asia and the Americas, to come up with a common standard for how to measure the social and environmental impact as part of a holistic balance sheet for a company that not only has the economic, but also those factors included. And I think this will be in the long term and growing investment consideration for investment funds that are investing in public companies. The ESG investor share at SAP is already at 15%. It was at 5% only 10 years ago, and it will continue to grow. And I think this is a tremendous upside that we have a responsibility to reap.
So I wanted to thank you both, Luca and Filippo, for being with us today. I hope to see you soon face to face. Let me ask you to give your final words and your message to our audience in Brazil.
Okay, thanks, Paulo and Luca. Was good to see you again. It's always very, very nice to stay connected with you. And I believe that important that I would finish with the way I started. No, I think that all the companies are reviewing some of the things they do. I think the headline again should be like protect the business and protect the people. I think that's something that we have to do, our own people, our society. And those are our values that were always with us, but they became really important in these days. So I hope that the companies and everybody finds its way in terms of resilience of the business, on finding ways of growing and being more effective after this. There's a lot of learnings that we bring from this situation here. And I'm really positive about the future and the way we're going to do going forward. So again, thanks for that, and it was good to see you again.
Thanks a lot, Jose. It was a pleasure for me as well. Thanks a lot for the strong partnership over many years now between Natura and SAP, and for doing this session together with me and Paulo. And to all of you, our customers, our partners in Brazil, I want to end with a simple statement. we are all facing the same crisis. It's affecting us perhaps in different ways and at different levels, but at the end of the day, we are going to be much stronger if we are facing the crisis together. If we bring our collective experiences, our learnings to the table, like we're trying it now with this session, if we bring our skills together, and if we are willing to collaborate in order to really achieve solutions that can help us in the immediate, short-term future, but then also longer term. And that has to start with trust, with sharing the information from SAP side. I want to extend the commitment that we will be transparent around our innovation roadmaps, around what you can expect from us in terms of present and future capabilities. And we're very eager to understand and identify the value that our solutions can bring to you, because we don't consider you as customers only, you're true business partners for us. And on the other hand, if you're willing to intensify your engagement with SAP, help us to understand how we can help you better, and be very open around how we can draft a digestible roadmap for addressing the current short-term challenges as well as the midterm opportunities, then I think we can truly add a lot of tremendous value. So I'm looking very much forward to accompanying you, our local team, as well as all of our global colleagues on this journey. I am actually excited. I'm a optimist, even in tough times, and I try to really see the chances, and I see lots of chances to accelerate the move to digitalization and using this as a competitive differentiation for all of us. Thank you for being with us on this journey, and please again stay safe and healthy, and I look forward to soon being able to visit you in person again. Thank you so much.
Meu muito obrigado em português a você, Luca e Filipe, novamente, e a você que acompanhou essa sessão. Eu convido você a seguir com a gente no canal de finanças do SAP Now Brasil 2020. Um abraço a todos. Obrigado.